Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm your host, David Perret, and today we have another exciting episode with Alexander Felice, Alex Felice, brokersandchoice.com. And you will see in this episode that I kind of give him a crummy intro because we were talking all kinds of smack before we were recording, and so I just hit record and kind of shortchanged him because we're good friends and it is what it is. But if you don't know Alex, he was in the Army. He now owns 30 units. He's done a couple BRRRR strategies with delayed financing, which we talk about towards the end of the episode, which is phenomenal. He's also done a JV with a 24 unit. He's flipping a house. He does some work for Bigger Pockets. The guy does a little bit of everything, and he's awesome. He's one of my favorite people. He's always my roommate when I go to events. So this episode is exciting. This is his third time on the show. He's the only person who's been on the show 3 times, but it's just always so much fun to talk to him, and he brings a lot of energy. So without further ado, show notes are found at FromMilitaryToMillionaire.com/podcast. Now relax and enjoy the show.
You're listening to the Military Millionaire Podcast, a show about real estate investing for the working class. Stay tuned as we explore ways to help you improve your finances, build wealth through real estate, and become a person that is worth knowing.
Hey guys, on this podcast we talk a lot about the roadblock to success for military members in getting started in real estate investing. For many of us, the barriers of time, location, and not having the right knowledge keep us from building wealth while serving our country. Well, let me tell you about Storehouse 310 Ventures. They get it. Storehouse 310 Ventures is owned by 2 active duty naval officers that love to make investing fun, lucrative, and have a passion for education, theirs and yours alike. They offer full turnkey rental properties in a market where the numbers make sense, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Yes, Milwaukee, home to the almost 2018 division titled Milwaukee Brewers, the well-known Miller Brewing Company, and a lot of delicious cheese. Storehouse 310's properties are fully renovated, leased, and have property management in place. Through their rigorous analysis and selection process, they do everything possible to ensure each rental property meets their high standards and offers fantastic returns. Storehouse 310s allows you to invest with confidence while you are living out of state. They have a network of lenders, insurance companies, contractors, a title company, and much more to serve you all along the way. There is absolutely no reason not to get started when you have the right teams and system in place. David and Stu, the owners of Storehouse 310, have been investing themselves for over 15 years. They are on a mission to help as many active duty, reserves, and military veterans create financial freedom through the power of real estate investing. They are honest, transparent, and they prioritize service and giving. They have even committed to give the first 10% of their profits to partner nonprofit organizations that support veteran causes. For more information about their program, send an email to podcast@storehouse310turnkey.com. Again, that is podcast@storehouse310turnkey.com. Tell David and Stu you heard about them through the Military Millionaire Podcast, and they will get you going down the right path. Monetize.
Let's talk about it on camera.
Yeah, it's recording. All right. I'm not even going to, you know what? We're just going to start it.
Talk about it on camera.
I'm not even going to cut any of this out. This is all going to be the entry of the show. And so 1, 2, 3. Hey, welcome to the show. Today we've got Alex Felice, and he's been on the show twice. So if you don't know who he is, go watch his other episodes. I probably gave him a better intro there. He has nice hair and he quit his job. So here he is. There you go. That's all you get today.
You're lucky we're friends because I would never volunteer for that nonsense. My name is Alex Felice. I'm a real estate investor in North Carolina. I've lived in Las Vegas the last 3 years. I did recently quit my job and move to North Carolina as a somewhat temporary endeavor so that I could work on my business with the hopes that maybe I won't have to go back to work, and it'll afford me, people get stuck in their jobs. So it afforded me a way to take 4 months off and invest in projects that have low direct return on investments and high long-term abstract returns on investments. And I figure I can do this for 4 to 6 months and see where it goes. And then if it doesn't work out, I can go back to work. And so I took that opportunity, November. And since we last talked, let's see, we were talking about, since we last talked, I had 7 rental properties, I believe, last time. And then now I have 8. Whoop. And then I bought a 24 unit apartment complex. So that's the reason I didn't get to buy that many family last year, is because I spent most of my time buying this 24 unit and then trying to manage it. We did a JV with 5 partners. We raised $280,000. It was a really good first endeavor into multifamily. And then in late December, and I mean late, like the 28th, I closed on a flip, which is going excellently. In fact, it's now, we're 17 days into the year, and today will be our 10th day into the flip, and we'll be about 90% done.
I just shake my head. That sounds like a great story.
I hope that it becomes an average story, actually.
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's the way things are supposed to work, so that's good.
Yeah. I mean, people ask me, like, how'd you find such a great contractor and how'd you find such a great team? And, first, luck plays an incredible role in your success. Now, maybe people don't want to hear that, and maybe people don't believe it. But most of the time, I think people just don't want to believe it. You should read Fooled by Randomness by Nassim Taleb. But the fact remains, in my opinion, and the math supports it, luck will play a far greater role in anything you do. And so people say, how'd you find your contractors? Like, first, the hard work part, I went through 3 bad ones. Overpaid, they over budgeted, they went over time, and they were difficult to work with. And then I found, through sheer luck, a guy dropped into my work and happened to be a real estate investor that we work incredibly well together. And so part of it is luck. Part of it is I invest in him. I sent him 40 rehab jobs last year. And so, yeah, my rehab's going to take they're going to go really quick because, well, for a lot of reasons, but I don't want to get too far into it. But yeah, so the flip is going incredibly well. I bought a quart of pink paint yesterday.
I saw that. What are you painting pink?
You'll have to see. Nothing. It's as usual with me. The theatrics will be better than the delivery. So yeah, it's been an incredibly good year. What else is going on? I did my first speaking engagement, which I know for many people is not that big a deal. It's so funny. When I was a kid, everyone seemed to be scared of public speaking, and then at 35, I started asking my friends around. I'm like, hey, I got my first speaking gig, and I'm really nervous. And they're like, oh, I do it all the time, and that really incredibly surprised me because I don't know. I guess my expectations.
But your expectations are right. Your network is different than most.
Well, I asked idiots.
Oh.
I asked my idiot friends, and they're like, "Yeah, public speaking, no big deal." And well, I have my. Well, I asked Matt, and he does it all the time. My friend Matt Faircloth. So it's correct. Like some of it is my network is different. But anyways, I found it to be very. It's been a little bit of an interesting journey, but I was, for 10 years, people have been telling me that I should go public speak, and I've always been really scared of it. And then only recently, where I felt intellectually confident enough that I could go and teach people something without feeling that, what I hate in the world? I hate the blind leading the blind. I never want to be part of it. So when I talk, I try to only talk about things that I've really, what's the old saying? Once you read 3 books on a subject, you know more than 99% of people. Try to get to like the 7-book level before I open my trap about a topic.
Yeah, I find that the hardest part about speaking for me is, and I've done a few gigs here and there, but a lot of it's just been me and Toastmasters or like recruiting or, scenarios. The hardest part for me is usually like figuring out what I want to talk about. Because a lot of what I, am very familiar with is stuff that I'm like, my goodness, this would make paint dry. Like people do not want to hear me talk about numbers, right? So I found that I'm a really good BSer when it comes, like I'm really good on the spot. And so like I had to give a speech last week at Toastmasters. I'd signed up for it and I was just not in the mood to give a speech at all. And I literally just was sitting at work one day and I was like, like wrote 4 words under it, was like, yeah, we'll make it up as we go. And like, to me, that's easier than like trying to prepare some crazy thing. Is like, okay, we'll just see how this turns out. But it's funny. Okay, you're right. People are
okay, David. But how do you talk in front of an audience of 200 people that maybe are equal to your experience level or better?
Well, I think in that case, I'd probably be more comfortable talking about something that I actually like something that would be quote boring for most people or whatever. So, but you're right. At that point, you actually have to prepare bullets and maybe slides or however. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah. So I had a whole PowerPoint slide, which I get to the event and it wasn't their PowerPoint situation. Well, it actually it was kind of my fault, but we didn't have PowerPoint. So it was an interesting deal. And I have that same problem, and I also hate RIA. It was at a RIA. Kevin Leahy, he produces a Bigger Pockets podcast. Him and Russell asked me to come talk at their DC RIA. Anyways, I wanted to do the same thing. I don't want to talk about Burr, right? Because 1, not everybody in the room cares about Burr. 2, there's a lot of people there that are way more experienced than me. And so this is why I read so many books. This really is it. Because if you want to sit, I was thinking about this the other day. I wrote a half an article about it. What's the old saying? You want to be the stupidest person in the room. Okay. You want to be the dumbest person in the room. Well, that's not a good feeling to be the dumbest person in the room. You don't have anything to say if you're the dumbest person in the room when people talk. And it's uncomfortable. And what's the point of being the dumbest person in the room? To get smarter, right? So this is why I recommend to people to read all the books.
Yeah.
Not the easy books, and not the books that are commonly regarded in your peer group or in this peer group, but the books that your peers are unwilling to read. They're really difficult books. Because then when you get into a room where you may be the least accomplished, you're not the dumbest. Then you have something to say. And I find more often than not, people that are more accomplished than me are older. And so they've had more time in it, but that doesn't mean that they've spent that time reading as much. And so I say all that to say what I gave my talk on, I tried to give a talk on something that was high enough level that could be applicable to people of all experience levels and all interests. And to give you the pitch was, to kill your 2020, you need to do these 3 things every single day. Educate. That's books, podcasts, and other people's websites like yours that teach people what to do every single day. Network every single day. That's in person, digitally, and individually on a digital level. Every single day. Every single day. And then the third one is create content. And I have a long diatribe about that. And what I do not mean under any circumstances is to repurpose somebody else's content. Quotes. I hate when you share other people's quotes. Get your own. I mean, it's intellectual property, and that was the pitch. The pitch wasn't content for the sake of marketing. It was to build your intellectual property, because intellectual property is going to become incredibly, hilariously, perhaps the most valuable thing in the very near future. It's happening now. If you look at Netflix, Bigger Pockets is going through the exact same thing with Brandon. They're like, hey, Brandon wants to branch off on his own. Well, what is Bigger Pockets without Brandon Turner? It's like, well, it's something, but not as much, right? And so the talk was, and that's how I got around that problem. It's like, I can talk about something that maybe a lot of people know about, but not everybody knows everything. So I got to give a little bit I tried to be well-rounded enough that I was able to give a little bit to everybody. And it was very well received. And I was actually, after the first 2 minutes, I felt incredibly confident and comfortable. So I'm going to do that a lot more.
Yep. And that's funny, because that's, what I say, like, learn, network, take action. But, take action is just a general term, but content is super. I mean, I just wrote an article for Bigger Pockets like 2-3 weeks ago about how free content or, content is how you win the game. And obviously it's not the only thing, right? But I mean, I've had some pretty crazy opportunities come up just by producing content, which takes
my website brought me about 24.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you mentioned the intellectual property. I guess we should probably go into what we were talking about before we started recording, where we started recording, and the beginning of this podcast starts with, let's talk about that when we're recording, and then we didn't talk about it at all. So you want to pick up where we left off with the YouTube thoughts?
YouTube is my main focus 2020. Real estate, I'm going to turn my flipping business into an active business, and I'm going to buy another multifamily property, and that's secondary to YouTube. And, it's real estate related because real estate is underserved on YouTube. And so here's what happens. Like, you should put your story on YouTube because there's a few things that are going to go on. One, intellectual property is on the rise. Netflix saw it. If you didn't notice that Netflix lost 30% in one day when they lost the Friends and The Office this year, they lost their stock went down 30% in one day when they announced that they lost those 2 shows, which is telling on 2 ways. One, it shows you that Netflix, their entire business model is on software, not and anybody can make the software. That's scary. It's the same reason why Uber should be really scared, because they make software. They don't make cars. GM can make an Uber app. It's the intellectual property. It's the intellectual property. And the second thing you have to consider is binge culture. The reason why Office and the Friends and all these other shows are popular that are old, there's no reason why The Office should be the #1 show on Netflix when it ended 10 years ago. It ended 10 years ago after 9 seasons. Jesus. And it's because people binge. They binge. Anytime you found a new podcast, like Bigger Pockets, and then you're like, what do? The first thing you go back and you start from episode 1 and you binge. You'll find a new TV show. It's like, I don't want to watch that TV show till it's 5 seasons and I know I can go off and watch them all in one weekend. I binge. And so you and me and everybody who's smart, just me, needs to start producing content on YouTube immediately. Not for today and not for monetization tomorrow and not for 6 months from now, but in 6 years from now. Because in 6 years, what happens is people are going to find you and they're going to binge on all your stuff, especially if you're good. They're going to binge on all your stuff. And guess what? YouTube is the only platform, the only medium, the only business that I can think of. And I've been saying this just like this because if you have an example, please let me know. But I haven't thought of any. It's the only business model I know that's backwards monetizable, meaning I can produce a video today and I can upload it. And then in 6 years, when I become big and I get 300 or 400,000 subscribers, people can go watch those old videos and I can stick ads on them and then make money on them. I don't know any other product that you can do that, where you can backwards monetize something from 6-10 years ago. Now, YouTube's still new. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it's brand day one, almost brand new. And you can tell because the biggest YouTube stars cater to 13-year-olds. They're idiots. Jake Paul and some dude that wears makeup that my wife likes. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's like the same reason why video games, when we were kids, video games were catered to kids. Now video games are catered to 40-year-old guys. Why? Because the kids all grew up. When they were kids, it was new. Well, YouTube's new when we were kids, and as we grow up, it's like YouTube's going to cater to the people with money. That's going to be 35 to 55-year-old adults. So you start now because it's going to blow up. It's not even getting started yet, YouTube.
Well, and there's some other benefits with it, right? Because Google owns it. If you get a video that links for a keyword, it'll show up on Google search results too. So you get even more traffic. But then it's evergreen if you get the right keyword. So not that I have any huge videos. In fact, I just had my first one hit like 10,000 views. But that video I posted a year ago and it got a little bit of traction. And it got just enough traction that when you type in the words, how to get rich in the military, it's the first search result, which is not a huge search keyword. But it gets 40 to 50 views every day or two. And it has for months now. It just picked up and slowly it's like, once I got monetized, I mean, that video made me like $4 in 1 month. Then it made me like $6 in 1 month. I think it made like $10 last month. And it's like, at the time that I recorded that, I wasn't making a penny on YouTube. So yeah. If it just keeps rolling, cool.
And real estate is underserved on YouTube, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got some videos on that all my stuff on the VA loan does really well. All my stuff if you find like a niche, it's hard to keep, good luck. If you go on YouTube and you make a video that's like real estate investing and somehow you make it on the first page, like, please tell me your secrets and let me come work for you. But there's niches, right? So like if you were to do a video on delayed financing, there's probably not much out there on that, but I guarantee people are searching for it at least on some level.
Oh, yeah.
Then you can rank for financing. Once you rank on that, then you'll be able to rank for other financing related, like words related to that on other videos, and you can kind of build off that. And it grows. I mean, it took me, I don't know, almost a year to get 1,000 subscribers. Now I get like 300 a month doing nothing but the same postings, and it just grows as you grow.
Yep. Now I will say the downside to now it's going to grow, right? Especially right now where the market is insane. So you have to be very competitive. And I'm just getting started. But I guess I say that all to say, like, if you're scared of YouTube, then that's why you 100% need to do it, because it's going to grow without you, and it's a comfort thing. So like you have to get comfortable with it now. I know you're really good on camera. I'm not nearly as good as you as producing videos, but I also refuse to produce videos as low quality as yours. So
I've put out over 250 videos on YouTube too, though. So my first lot was not comfortable at all.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. You get better. And in fact, now I've hired a video production crew to follow me around this flip. And we bought a whole bunch of GoPros. We got some tricky stuff coming out.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And we're just getting started, So what I'm going to try to do is I'm not going to try to do I'm going to do talking head educational videos, but I think I'm going to do those for BP. What I'm going to do for my show, I think I'm going to number it and do, who's good on this is Gary V. And what's he say? Just document it.
Yep.
Just document it. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it episodic. It's going to be episode 1, first flip, whatever the case. And I might just do it weekly and just do a weekly episode, maybe a monthly episode, whatever the case. And you number them so that things later. And it's just going to be practicing my videography skills, practicing flipping and just telling stories and trying to teach along the way and being very personal and thorough and authentic and transparent, and just, keep it growing. And here's the other thing, if you want to grow these days, if you want to in social media, you need to have one or two of a few different things. Like, one, you need to be credible. Two, you need to have a good personality. Three, you need to know your stuff. And so you can get someplace without all three of those, right? Or four, you need to have extremely good videography skills, right? You have to be really good visual storyteller.
Yeah.
And so you can get away with only one of those. Hey, like, you know something, but your videography looks terrible, and you don't have that much exposure, and you don't have that much experience, but you know your stuff. Okay, well, you can make some videos, but you're only going to go so far. Or if your personality is dull. I have a friend who is an incredible storyteller, a digital storyteller, and he knows his stuff, but he doesn't have that much experience, and his personality is dull. And so it's like, dude, you're limited. You can go far, but you can't go the farthest. And so I think, and I haven't fleshed that out, so I'm just kind of spitballing, but those are the four things. You need to be a good visual storytelling. You need to know your stuff. You need to have a dynamic personality, and something else. What did I say?
Videography.
Yeah, something. So anyways, like, I say all that to say, if you're, how do I say it? If you can get on camera and you can tell your story and you can tell it dynamically, but you don't have that much experience, you can only go so far. But if you're like, hey, look, I'm not that good on camera, but I just closed $1 million deal, people perk up, and vice versa. Hey, look, I just bought my 10,000th apartment building and I'm starting YouTube. It's like, people will watch because they're like, this guy's got the credibility. So now imagine and then you have guys like Gary Vee, who has experience, right? He has the credibility because he has actual accomplishments. He's dynamic. He's a dynamic character. He has good videography, video storytelling. You know what I mean? It's like, once you have the trifecta, you're in the zone.
And you need to evoke emotion, right? Because even if like Gary pisses a lot of people off, and that works in his favor, huge.
Well, the dynamic personality.
It's so the more you get people riled up, whether they love you or hate you, if you can kind of find a way to split that, right? Like,
that's what I've been working on all year.
You want more love when it comes to your videos, because the likes definitely work more than the dislikes. But like, I had someone trolling my page yesterday, and it was ridiculous how offended this guy got on some, like, he posted some comment on one of my videos that was like, I'm joining the military for money and benefits and nothing else. And I just commented, and I was like, hey man, good for you. But if you don't have like some inner like drive for joining the military, like, I would caution you about joining the military, because like, you're probably going to be miserable for 4 years if money is the only reason you joined. Like, let's be real.
Well, you want to be real? I think that's why 99.9% of people join the military.
I would agree.
And that's why 99% of them are miserable.
I was going to say, a lot of people do join for money, and look at how they get by year 3, right? So, and he got so mad, right? He was like, ah, and I was like, okay, hey, whatever, man, like, go for it, But I just kept going with it, because I'm like, the more this guy comments, the more this video gets shared. So
yep. That's my whole social media strategy.
Bring it on.
That's my whole social media strategy since 2016 Donald Trump election. Dead serious, right?
I mean, that's what he does. Whether you either love him or you hate him, and he has so much free media. It's like Elon, right? Like, that guy, everybody loves or hates what Elon does, but the guy gets a ton of free publicity because his shit just ends up all over the place. Yeah,
but he has the opposite. Well, they have very different strategies.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely.
I can piss you off. He tries to do good, but if you piss you off along the way, he doesn't matter. But his accomplishments speak for themselves. Donald Trump's whole game, and this is what I love about him. This is the one thing I love about him. He did not try to go out and attain a 75% of the user base to like him. He didn't even go for 50%. What he's really done is just try to go to the 49% and piss them off. If you can piss off the 49%, then the other 51 love you. And so my whole game lately on Facebook, I don't know if you noticed, is like, hey, I'm just antagonizing the people that I already know aren't going to like me.
Yep.
But I have to admit, on YouTube, I love it when people trash talk me. I genuinely like it. It fires me up, because I'm like, I think that's okay, it's good press, but it's also deeper than that, right? Let's talk about it a little bit deeper. When somebody doesn't like you, and then they take the time to comment.
Thanks for the attention.
That is the ultimate user. That's your ultimate. That's the people who like you and comment. Thank you, but You like, I mean, it wasn't to piss somebody off so much that they have to say something about it is like, you really got to that person. You really touched them. And I think that's incredibly valuable. So for me, when somebody's like, you know what, Alex, I can't even watch this video because your hair looks stupid, and I've gotten that on YouTube, and BP and if you go to BP channel and you look at my videos, like
I saw that shit.
I can't take this guy seriously because of his hair. And I'm like, the things that I'm talking about, I really know my content. I act like I'm very theatrical on purpose, but I really know my stuff. I was talking about underwriting, which I'm an underwriter.
Did for years.
Yeah. Like, and so I was like, so I said, this guy didn't even comment on my content. He didn't comment on my ideas. He just critiqued my hair, which I only do for theatrics. So I was like, this guy loves me. He's my biggest fan. He just can't admit it. And I said, it drives me. So I go on YouTube and I'm like, I don't know. I'm very fortunate in that regard where YouTube the comments, because YouTube is probably the worst comment section on all of the internet.
Yeah. I had this troll who like went off on one of my videos once. And at first, I mean, it was my first like real like hater, quote unquote. Like the guy sounded kind of like he knew what he was talking about, but it was just very like the thing he went off on me about was something similar. It was like a video on leverage or something. And he was just like, and it wasn't even like I buy in cash and here's why. It was just like, everything you did is wrong. And I was kind of frustrated. I responded, whatever, because I didn't think anything of it. And then this guy went and watched like 10 videos just to comment, right? And by the end of it, I'm just like, I really appreciate the watch time. Like you helped all of these videos out. Thank you so much for your attention. Like, I'm just like, man, this guy hated me so much that he just spent an hour and a half going through. I mean, it was probably an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of videos. And the comments showed that he was at least watching half of them, like, awesome.
Yeah. So
come back for more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate because the way we're wired to be vocally angry, which really tears us apart in many ways as a culture, as a society. This is the problem. Clickbait I hate, and this vitriolic by design content. Like I don't try to be vitriolic by design. I try to be snarky.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm gonna stop you. I don't do this often, but you can't go ahead and use the word vitriolic on a military podcast and not give a definition.
Are you calling Are you saying your users don't have a good dictionary?
I'm saying that they're too lazy to look it up and they're going to just be like, huh? Is Alex making stuff up? You know what? To David's viewership, I respect you more than he does, just so you know. Vitriolic, filled with bitter criticism or malice. When you go on the internet and you get angry, you spew. But when the way it's common is you spew vitriol, and it's like when you're just going on there and like you just said, like somebody gets on. Well, you see it on political posts. Oh yeah. The
other team. The
news is just crazy, and people are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you don't watch politics." Are you kidding me? You can't believe I don't sit around and watch that? Like, what possible good thing could come out of that I won't? If it's important, I promise I'll know about it. But like, man, it's funny. You like when 2 weeks ago when everything was going on in the Middle East or whatever, and they shut our computers down. So all you could do is use like .mil or .gov websites and still, but you could use Google, but you couldn't click any of the links. So all you could do is like type in a word and see what was trending, right? So I would type in like Iran because that was the only way I could see anything unless I was outside the office. And, I don't get to do that often. And it's just hilarious to see like, I don't know, we'll just use an example. Like Iran is terrorism, shot down airplane, and then like America causes Iran to shoot down. Like it's like the exact same article, but it's just the headline is so different and so angry. And you're like, wow, depending on how people look at this, it's like, I either hate this person or I hate this person, but it's the exact same information. And it's crazy. And they're so good at it. People get
it's not new.
Mad. I know. Oh yeah, I know. Your content book or whatever is like one of my next two on my list. So.
Manufacturing consent.
There you go. That one.
Yeah. Iran. Well,
we don't need to go into the actual.
Yeah, read that book. Yeah. I mean, it's a really good way for the media to get clicks.
It works.
At the cost of people's lives. I mean, I don't mean Iran, whatever the event, right? 9/11. It's a really good way for the media to and the government to generate interest in what they're trying to do at the expense of people's lives. But there is no moral high ground for anybody to be had.
Nope. And when you are the moral high ground, or you try to be like the voice of reason, everybody hates you, which is hilarious. So, which is almost
manufacturing consent. Read that book.
Yep.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/militarymillionaire. Now, why Audible? Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, and entertainers. I listen to Audible every single day on my commute to and from work. Now, to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/militarymillionaire.
So as we've mentioned, content is, it's huge, guys. Like, it's free. But it's something you can always use. Like, for example, I'm learning, I don't want to say I've been a good speaker, but I'm not a terrible speaker. Like, you throw me in front of a bunch of people, I'm comfortable enough that I can make it through whatever, right? Like, I think that's recruiting. Part of that's just that I've forced myself to do it enough because I was this weird homeschool kid who could have never talked to a group of people in my life as a high schooler. But, I've gotten better at it. But what I've done is every time I've spoken, whether at Toastmasters or a virtual event or a RIA or whatever, I've recorded it. And so I have this little Google Drive with like 15 little speeches, right? And including like one or two where I was talking in uniform to my Marines about finance. And so I know that, like, as I go forward, I can pull chunks out of stuff and I can put that in.
Oh, yeah, you get a little collage later.
Yeah, so that's my intent, is that as it grows, I can use it for, like a speaker, like what it highlights or whatever. But I can also use it as content and learn how I'm doing. But then, I posted my last two Toastmaster speeches on Instagram, and they had a ton of views. People loved it, and I'm like, oh, well, that's useful, because all I did was literally just walk up and set a camera on the table in front of me.
My point, like, my point. Not that many people are trying. No matter how, despite how it may seem, not that many people are trying. David Perret can be successful at this. Anybody can be successful at this. You just said, right?
That was very well planned.
I said I gave a little talk. I put minimal effort. I just threw it up on Instagram, and then people liked it. It's like, dude, the barrier to entry is zero.
Document.
Like, just get out there and do it. There's no reason why I should be as popular as I am, except I try. That's it. Who fucking knew? Oh, can I swear in here? Who fucking knew? Trying would work so well. Let's talk about real estate.
Well, and as you pointed out, like, most of my videos are talking head, because the amount of stuff that I try to put out, I don't have. For one, I'm not as talented or as at the, like, I've done the whole vlogging thing, but like my visual storytelling is still a work in action. But
what are these?
I'm not. I don't have as much as I need for a lot of stuff I'd like to do. And then I'm a one-man show, and there's a whole bunch of excuses. And so for me, like, the talking head makes sense a lot of times because it just saves so much time. And I have a lot of that stuff.
Yes.
But it saves so much time that I can get it out there. And I'm still doing quite well without that piece, right? And I know that I'm going to start doing, I'm trying to collab with someone this weekend to go do some live shooting. Because I'm trying to get
as you get bigger, you'll find people that want to do it.
Yeah. I've got the guy I'm doing lunch to hopefully tomorrow with the guy who's got like 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. His content's totally different niche, but he's a big military YouTuber. And so hopefully we can find a way to, get together on something. And if nothing else, I'm getting around people who are doing it well. Anyway, real estate. Yeah. Hey, I want to talk to you, unless you had a specific subject, I want you to talk through delayed financing real quick.
Delayed finance is something that I became really popular for because I talked about it on the Bigger Pockets podcast. I perfected the system, but the problem is people get it sounds, I'll give you this warning up front. It sounds way better than I make it sound better than it is. It's good, but what problem I had is I went on the podcast and I told about this, and people got all excited, and then people have never done a deal. They're like, I want to use delayed finance for my first deal, and I'm like, dude. So if it's your first, I recommend skipping it. But what it is it's if you're doing BRRRR, which I was, and you want to skip the 6-month seasoning period, and you want to get the fancy 30-year Fannie Mae mortgage, which you do, and you want to get 100% of your rehab funds back, there is There is no product that will let you do that. There is no way for you to get 100% of your money back with no seasoning and get the Fannie Mae loan, right? That would be the dream. Well, I figured out how to do it, and it's mostly legal. It is legal. We checked with them, but it's like, well, my fear is as it gets more popular, they're going to change. They're going to crack down on it. But it is legal. We've never had a call back. We never had a buyback, and they know we're doing it. So, what you do is normally you go to a bank and you say, "Hey, I want to refinance this house," and they say, "We'll give you 75% LTV, but you got to wait 6 months." Right? Okay. So they have this delayed finance exception, and the rule is, and it's really important. It's really important to get the details here. The rule is you can get back with no seasoning. You can get back 75% of LTV or 100% of your HUD 1, line 120, whichever one's lower. Well, if you on your HUD, that's the settlement statement. That's what you pay for the house. So you buy a $30,000 house, you put 30 grand into it, it's worth 100. Or so let's say you buy a house for 40, you put 35 into it, it's worth 100. So you're all in it for 75. And it's worth 100. So you go to a bank and they say, but you can, if you want to do delayed finance, you can only get your 35 grand back or your 40 grand back. So what I started doing was I paid for my rehab at the closing. So when I go to the bank, when I go to close the house for a $40,000 house, I give them 75 grand cash. That's the other thing with delayed finance. It has to be your cash. If you're borrowing money, it don't work. Don't even try. Hard money, even private money doesn't work. It has to be your, what they call it, arm's length funds. So your money, a HELOC, an equity line, or something. It's gotta be your money. I think you can do it with credit cards, but that scares the shit out of me. People use hard money these days. Like, I know a lot of people going broke on hard money right now. Just so you know, it can happen to you, bro. You can go broke. And it's gonna get worse. So I said, I'm gonna pay what you do is you bring an invoice to the title when you go to close. You bring an invoice from the contractor and you say, hey, the work is going to be 35 grand. So here's 40 plus the invoice plus the 35 grand. It goes into escrow. They cut the check out, 35 grand to the contractor. You can probably negotiate with your title attorney to do it in draws because you don't want to give your contractor all that 35 grand, right? Unless you have a good contractor like me and I give it all to him all at once. Have been for 3 years now. And so, again, this is why you don't want to do it. That's why beginners don't want to do it. The important part is not delayed finance is something you use when the system is getting in your way. But when you're new, the system is not getting in your way. You're still trying to build the system. Time is
getting in your own way.
You're getting in your own way. Yeah, benefit to you. Like the patience is the virtue. And I didn't do delayed finance till my third or fourth one because then it's like I had a realtor, I had a system for finding deals, I had a system for rehabbing them, I had a system for refinancing them. And I had a good tenant placement, and I knew all this. I just had to rinse and repeat. That's all it was. Like I just had to rinse and repeat. I was done in 10 weeks, and then I had to wait, another 3.5 months, 4 months to get it done. It's like, dude, let's add delayed finance. Okay, fine. Most people, when they're new, it's like, well, the whole project took you 4 months, and now you're mad because you couldn't save 2. Like, just go slow. So, if you want to use delayed finance, you need to use your cash. You need to have an extremely good relationship with your contractor, and extremely good. And I don't mean somebody you like that you trust. I mean, you should have no worry about giving them 30 grand. None. I do not worry at all. I'd give my contractor 100 grand cash, no problem. I could go do it this morning. No big deal. I'd have zero worry. We can talk in depth about how to create those relationships, but that's what delayed finance is. It's a way for you to skip the seasoning, get a 30-year Fannie Mae mortgage, get all your rehab funds with no seasoning. But the way you have to do it is complicated and requires deep relationships into your infrastructure.
Yeah, because the last thing that most people want to do is start out giving a ton of money to a contractor. Because stuff happens, right? So even if you we all, I don't know if maybe not everybody knows my situation, but the contractor I used on this last job came extremely highly recommended from a lot of people. And the one contractor who's like a personal friend who I would have no problem giving like $100,000 to at all. He's just so good that it's like, well, I got to wait months for this guy to work on something. Right. But he knew the guy and vouched, he's like, yeah, that guy's great. You should go for it. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I had a lot of other people that I respect who vouched as well. It was my first time using the guy, but he overextended. I became the Peter to rob that got robbed to pay Paul, right? Like
Yep.
it
Did
wasn't.
you meet him? Did
Oh
you
yeah,
meet him
yeah,
face to
yeah.
face?
I met him in person a few times. I mean, great vibes. Wife loved him. The wholesaler who recommended him to me had done 5 flips with him, and one of them is the one that just got burned as well with me. So
What did I tell you in the beginning that nobody wants to hear? Luck.
yeah, exactly. Like,
And when I say luck, I mean luck and unluck, right?
yeah, like I totally acknowledge that this guy means well. Like he's still talking to me. We're trying to find solutions. It's not like he just ghosted on me. But shit happened, and I was the shit that got shit on.
Yep.
And you know, it is what it is. But I definitely will never give anyone 35 grand without having done a project with them and known, you know, how we're. And I'll always be cautious at this point because I know that this guy was the first few weeks went great, and then it just I don't know what happened. You know, I mean, I know what happened, but
let me throw a wrench in your game here. So you have an inverse now, and you don't trust people because they know you don't trust them, right? So it's like a relationship that you come into and you're jaded, right? It's like the other person's like, dude, I didn't do anything to you. You have to invest into that person selflessly and fearlessly for the relationship to work. Yep. You have to. If you're like it's like if you go in a relationship, you're like, well, my last girlfriend cheated on me, so now I want to check your phone every day. It's like, dude, it's not going to work. And so the contract is the same way. It's like, well, the last contractor burned me, so now I'm going to keep you on a super tight leash. And it's like the guy's like, I'm doing good work. I don't need that. And there's other people to make money with. So I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, like, look at the other side. If you go too cautious and you micromanage people too much, and this is what happened to new contractors. Like, I'm going to buy all the materials. I'm not going to give you anything. I'm going to keep you on a super tight leash. It's like, dude, you're making the guy's life hard. If he's really good, he don't need you. He don't need that pain. So it's a very delicate balance of, you know what I do? Here's a good tip. Here's what I do to get people to work well with me. I send them business first. Right? And so this is where your networking and your production handy, because as your exposure gains, right, people start coming to you and they say, Alex, I need a contractor in Fayetteville. And I say, how about you use this guy over here? Right? I haven't used him yet, but my guy's busy. All right? My guy's busy, but this guy over here, you go check him out. I'm not vouching for him, but here's a contact. Well, say it works out. Well, now the contractor's like, thanks, Alex. And then that guy's like, hey, I did good business. Well, now I can send you some more. Well, by the time I send 10 deals, 1, I like when people owe me. 2, I have a deep relationship with that guy when we didn't have to exchange $1. 3, he loves me because I send him so much business, and the people that I sent them to are happy.
Well, so the principle of reciprocity, right? Like you say you like when people owe you, but that's what it is, right? Like if you give somebody a gift, they're gonna feel like they owe you, even if you don't care.
And I never cash in. I just like the feeling.
Yeah, it's just it's a good way to build I do say, like my property manager is phenomenal, and she has been forever, and I love that. She's going to keep being phenomenal because I just sent her someone who had 26 units in his portfolio, and I send her, you know, whatever all the time. And so I know that if something goes wrong and she overextends, I'm not going to be the person who gets burned.
Well, that's not a good way to look at it, but I understand your point.
But yeah, but it's just, I know, but it's just the relationship side. Like, she's awesome, right? And I send her business because she's awesome. And
that's an interesting point too. Like, you know, people hit me up. Yesterday I had 2 video chats. I do video chats on my website. It's a shameless plug. I do video chats on my website just like this with strangers every Thursday night. If you want to sign up, it's free. I do it basically 2-hour clips with strangers, and I do it booked every Thursday now. And so last night, 2 people called me with the exact same problem of different. They said, I have 3 pieces of the puzzle, but I can't find the 4th. You know, I got a contractor, I got a property manager, I got a lender, but I don't have a realtor. Or I got a realtor, a contractor, a property manager, but I can't get the lender. And so it's interesting that, just so you know, like, as you're building your team, you know, it's statistics, rolling the dice, right? It's like, it's easy to get 25% of fantastic. If your team is 4 people and to get 1 of them, that's amazing, is easy statistically. 2 of them, not so hard. 25%, that's tough. 100% is incredibly difficult. So when you're building your team, remember, like, hey, look, some people, when we're talking about this, like, some people are going to be like, oh yeah, find a contractor is miserable. It's like, okay, yeah. Some people are hearing this, and they're like, well, I have a great contractor, but I can't find a good property manager. It's like, yeah, same problem, just a different piece of the puzzle. And so, exactly. But the thing is the same. Anyway, it's like, send people to the property manager that you want to use and feel them out, see how they do business.
And you know what's funny about that is, subconsciously, a lot of times it's the people who it seems like the position that you fear the most is the one that you don't find the good So like, and you say luck or whatever, but like I had no issues finding an amazing property manager because I wasn't worried about it. I interviewed 3 or 4 and I was like, this one. Realtor, my first one was okay, and then I found another one, and she's been amazing, and now I have a second who's a backup, and he's awesome. Whatever, whatever. But like the contractor's always been the piece that I'm like, man, I don't know, and like that's the one that
well, contractors are harder in general, to be honest.
Well, that makes me feel better, but I don't need to feel better. But I feel like a lot of people who don't find a good property manager is like they're just like scrounging for air, and they take anyone who says, "Oh, I can manage your properties," and it's like that's not.
Yeah, desperation will make you make really bad choices. Like, I need to get somebody in here. Let me hire any property manager and take any tenant. It's like that's gonna be worse. That's gonna be worse than being patient. That's gonna cost you more money than it is to save. Also, you have to understand the nature of who works for who, or who's the correct client base, who's the correct vendor for what demographics. So like property managers, guess what? They only deal with landlords. So they're geared perfectly for you. Contractors, who knows? They might have been handymen who think they can run their own business. They might have been plumbers that now they're trying their hand at GC. Maybe they want to grow. Maybe they just want to get the bills paid. And so this kind of comes into like, if you want the really good contractors, you're not going to get them until you're a really good, rehabber. Like the really good contractors work for the city and the state, right? They do big commercial projects, right? The really good contractors do new construction. They do new commercial buildings. The small contractors do small rehabs for small landlords. So they're not that good. If they were really good, they'd grow. Now, maybe you can find somebody who's on their way up and they're going to grow and you can grow with them. And that's really the most perfect scenario. But everybody's growing or shrinking at all times. So you got to make sure you get somebody that's in the same zone as you and on the same trajectory. Otherwise, you better start planning to outgrow them anyway. Because you got a good contractor and it's like, well, I had a good property manager. Well, what now I want to buy a 200-unit apartment complex. What are we going to do? So the small property manager may not be able to grow that much. You got to go find somebody else. So it's a constant, dude. Like if you think you have the perfect team and you're not getting anybody new, I promise you're making a mistake. Like your job is to always be finding the next contractor, the next property manager, the next realtor, the next lender. And I don't care who on my team hears it. If they heard this, I'd say, yeah, I'm finding other people because you might screw it up one day. I love you. I love everybody on my team. They're fantastic. But man, what if what if they lose interest? What if they want to do something else? What if they find their little niche and it's not the same as me? What if? It's like, dude, I don't want to get too comfortable. And I want to grow, right? Well, I started with families. Now I do 24. Next thing I want to do is 50. Now I'm doing flips. My contractor really doesn't like doing flips. He's like, dude, we do these bulletproof rentals. We know them in and out. We've never really done high quality flips. So it's out of our comfort zone. It's like, maybe he can grow with me. Maybe he can't. But and
then there's always the, like, what if, right? Like you hand your contractor $35,000 for a renovation and he gets hit by a truck.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, well.
Yeah, like I need the money.
Yeah. Like, I mean, anything could happen there. But if you don't have a backup, then you're like, I at least had a backup when my situation went. My biggest struggle is just figuring out which route I want to go to pay for, to finish which option. And that's my big to-do list is now that I think I've fleshed out every possible scenario is to just write them all down on paper and just be like, okay, bottom line, which one makes sense? Take the emotion out, show it to 3 or 4 people and say, which one? Great. All right. That's not an emotional decision this way, but I have the people.
Also, it's really important and it doesn't get talked about enough. You remember where we are in the market cycle?
Yes.
At the top, right? Everybody's winning. I mean, there's people that I know that are brain dead morons making money right now. And they don't even know that it's because the economy has done nothing but go straight up 9 years straight, gangbusters. Boom. Right. In fact, I made more money in the S&P last year than I made in real estate because the market is just going gangbusters. And so when that comes to a slow, the people who are on the fringe, the people who are doing okay business and just making it, they're going to go away. So you'd be surprised, you're building your team now and you don't have anybody else in the works. It's like when the business slows, people go do something else. A lot of them. Or they're more likely to take the money and run because they're like, I got to pay my mortgage. There's all sorts of stuff. So just remember, right now is as good as it can be, just about. And so when you're building teams, think about everybody's it's not a contractor, right? It's a human individual, and they got their wife and their kids, they got their own problems, and they got desires, and they think certain things about you that maybe you don't realize, and maybe they like working with you, maybe they don't. Maybe they're ready to burn you, and maybe the last guy burned them and they're jaded and there's just a million individual circumstances that can change things. And so you got to stay nimble. You got to build deep relationships. It's not just about finding some contractor. And I'm glad that you flew out there and met somebody face to face. If you're trying to do a job long distance, and I've done a lot of work long distance. In fact, the majority of my portfolio was built long distance. 30 doors I bought long distance. And if you're not willing to go there and fly in to shake the people's hands who are going to be handling your assets and your livelihood and your retirement, you're not willing to shake their hand, then I promise you, they care less about you than you care about flying. If you can't fly in, they're not going to care more about you than you care about them. So
I always try to make that a point.
You have to fly and shake these people's hands at least once, if not somewhat regularly, because they can burn. Some guy that emailed me and said he wants me to do this rehab job, and I'm gonna do good work because I'm a guy, but he's just a faceless investor who's gonna make money on my hard work, and I don't really care about him. And I have bills, and I have my kid's sick, and I have this and that, so I can burn him. But who I can't burn is David, the human, because I know him and I met his wife, right?
Yep.
So this is a human business. Houses don't write checks. Humans do. Houses don't write checks. They don't have opposable thumbs, right? It's just drywall.
Terrible joke.
What's that?
I said there's a terrible joke.
It's not a terrible joke. It's a good joke. Hey, look, man, I'm not the one insulting the intelligence of my user base.
Oh man, I just don't know. I mean, to be honest, I couldn't have defined vitriol. I know what it means. Look, I know what it means, but I couldn't have given you a definition.
Me neither. That's why I looked it up.
I was gonna say, which made me laugh when I saw you Google it, and I was like, "Yep, awesome." Hey, so because we've been talking for almost an hour, and that's longer than most of my recordings. On the note of height of the market, what advice would you give a newbie rolling into 2020?
So I will tell you that most of the people that you're getting advice from, be careful of people who are giving you advice on how to succeed that have only succeeded when the market is up. Most people who are giving advice, myself included, David included, have only started since the 2008 collapse. So they only know a market where they've won. So we don't know nothing. You need to read books from people who have been through multiple crashes. You don't need to read I'm sorry, David. You don't need to read the books that are commonly, the books that tell you to take action are books that are being sold to make money. It's not good advice. Not to say taking action isn't good advice, but the best way to prepare yourself for any incoming potential changes in the economy is to learn how the macroeconomics and the history of the economy have become what they are. Read books on the Federal Reserve, read books on monetary policy, macroeconomics, read Incerto by Nassim Taleb, which I'm always going to recommend. You have to understand the risk that you're taking. It's not the risk that you take that sinks you. It's the risk that you take that you don't know you're taking. That's what gets you. And it's happening every single day. You have to understand that the unemployment is as low as it can possibly get. Inequality is on the rise. Political polarization is on the rise. Liquidity is at an all-time high, which means anybody can get money for almost anything. And so people buying stupid stuff, and you don't want to compete with stupid, I assume. So patience is a virtue. Read books that are that your peers are unwilling to read. That's the best preparation for the economic changes is knowledge, wisdom.
Yeah.
Taking action is fine, but it's also, you can take on risk that will ruin you.
Yes.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's got to be calculated actions.
Well, but risk is hard to calculate. I've done it.
Yeah.
Risk is hard to calculate on paper, right? I've done it for many years. It's an easy process. That's why our credit application memos, when you do a small business loan at my bank, it's like 40 pages. So before you go off and you buy a single family home, try to write out 40 pages of everything that can go wrong and how you'd mitigate it. That's how we do real business. That's how you really do.
I got saved from.
So what happens is somebody does a spreadsheet with a little underwriting spreadsheet, and it's like one page, and it's like, oh yeah, it makes $200 cash flow, and I've never seen a house, and it's gonna be so easy. It's like, dude, I know people that are going bankrupt right now at this market, and it's getting worse. So just be really careful. And play the long game, right? If you're trying to get rich in the next if you're like, I'm gonna have $1 million in 5 years, it's like that's the wrong way to go, because what's going to happen is you've now set I have to make $1 million, and then the variable becomes your behavior. This is what we talked about a few weeks ago on Instagram. Do you remember this, David?
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about goals. So if you're like, I have to make $1 million in 5 years. Well, the variable becomes your behavior, and you'll end up doing all sorts of weird behaviors to try to hit this goal, which is arbitrary. That's called bed of Procrustes. You take a natural phenomenon and you take a natural phenomenon and you try to fit it into an arbitrary box. It's like drugging your kids to go to school. It's insane. Get my blood pressure up. So anyway, real estate's a long game. You're getting 30-year mortgages. Think about the long game. You don't have to make anything in 2 years. Like, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It works like a hockey stick.
Yeah. I mean, I probably make as much, if not more, in principal pay down on most of my rentals as I do in actual cash flow. maybe not, maybe not more, but like my 10 unit, I pay off like $10,000 a year in principal. Right. So like when I think about it, I'm like, hey, the cash flow on this property is great. But what's also great is that every year I hold this thing, like it just grows, right? Like
get a lot more equity.
It's not worth flipping it for $50,000 when I'm going to make $100,000 over the next decade just in that, not including everything else.
Yeah. And look, it's complicated, right? This is why it's hard to give advice on what to do with the economy, because everybody who's listening has a different, unique situation. And you're more than welcome to email me and ask me what I think about an individual situation. But the ultimate risk mitigator is knowledge, right? The second best is cash, but the first best is wisdom, is knowledge. And it doesn't come from reading Hal Elrod, I guarantee you.
All right. So on that note, where can people get a hold of you?
Brokersachoice.com. You can find me on Facebook. I talk to Facebook to people on Facebook all the time. You can find me on Bigger Pockets. I'm a heavy contributor to Bigger Pockets on the blog. I was on their podcast. I'm a moderator on the boards. If you live in the North Carolina area, I host a meetup on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. called Real Estate Church, and it's kind of like a cult. People love it. And if you go to my website, you can video chat me at any time on Thursday nights if you'd like.
And if you're at an event in the main lobby after 10 o'clock at night, drinking. Oh, wait.
If you're at an event with me and you want to get to know me, I will be at the bar. That's how I made best friends with Zachary Gwynn, the video production manager at Bigger Pockets. We had a 3-hour whiskey retreat at Bigger Pockets.
That was the first night, wasn't it? That was after I went to sleep because I was
a blur. That was 4 days of blur.
Yeah, man, that was good. But I tried to avoid doing what happened at FinCon, so that was anyway. Alex, thanks for joining. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Always good to talk to you, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thank you for listening to another episode about my journey from military to millionaire. If you liked it, be sure to visit FromMilitaryToMillionaire.com/podcast to subscribe to future podcasts. While you're there, we'd love for you to rate the show, give us a review on iTunes. Now get out there and take action.